Thousands of tanks have been destroyed in Ukraine since Russia's attack last year. Most of the tanks used by both sides were designed and built during the Cold War. Most the vulnerabilities that have arisen in the decades of service these tanks are on display in Ukraine. Tanks have been a decisive feature of land wars for more than a century. And the war in Ukraine is no exception. Thousands of tanks and armored vehicles have been destroyed since Russia's attack in February 2022. An unusual feature of these conflicts was that both parties used the same or similar model tanks. This similarity is a reflection of the permanent legacy of the Soviet Army. Although updated variants and new models have been introduced since collapse of Soviets in 1991. Most of tanks used in Ukraine were designed during Cold War. And many were built while it is not surprising that the old tanks have weak points. The two-year conflicts have literally revealed their obsolete qualities. T-72s, T-80s and T-90s Ukrainians load the Russian T-72 into a truck outside of Izium in September 2022. ANATOLII STEPANOVAFP via the most common tank on the front was the T-72. Introduced in 1973. This tank forms backbone of Russian armored unit and is one of most widely used main battle tanks in world, weighing about 45 tons. The T-72 has crew of 3, commander, driver and artillery, and is armed with 125 mm grooved gun that can fire tank shells anti-tank missiles. There is also 7.62 mm machine gun with a coaxis mounted on the body and 12.7 mm heavy machine gun on the turret. The T-72 is equipped with an automatic loader and carries about 38 rounds. 22 are stored in a carousel under turret and the rest in tower. There are multiple T-72 variants, some of which have their own subvariants. The most modern in Russian service are T-72B3 and T-72B3M, which have improved views, electronics, engines and a new ball in B3M. They also rely heavily on explosive reactive armor that explode outwards to counter incoming anti-armor shells. T-72B3 tanks Red Square in Moscow, May 2019. Alexander ZEMLIANICHENKOAFP via the T-72B3M was launched only in 2017, but already has a subversion. The T-72B3M Obr. 2022 was changed based on lessons from Ukraine. The Russians also used a large number of T-80s, introduced in 1976. The T-80 is slightly larger and heavier than the T-72. It also has 125 mm non-slot that fires tank shells and anti-tank missiles, a coaxis PKT machine gun and 12.7 mm heavy machine on the turret. The T-80 also has a crew of 3 and an ammo carousel and an automatic loader. The T-80 is unique because it has gas turbine engine instead of a conventional diesel engine and has large amount of era blocks in particular. Russians primarily use 3 T-80 varieties: T-80U, T-80BV and T-80BVM. These can be distinguished by the way era blocks are sequenced. The T-80BVM was also upgraded as result of experiences in Ukraine. And as a result, new subvariant T-80BVM Obr appeared. U.S. troops examined the UKA